So, guys, it's David here. Today, I have switched up my recording setup, so hope you guys don't mind it at the moment because this lighting is pretty messed up. And it kind of feels weird to record with myself sitting on the edge of the table, simply because this mic is not long enough. But with that being said, guys, I quite like it because for the longest time, I'm finally putting this mic to use. So I guess no money is wasted. But I just want to touch on what I had self reflected based on this idea of reviewing your 10x improvements. And this idea was something I got from reading the book 10x is easier than 2x. I never quite understood the concept of 10x. And I thought going 10x means you have to make marginal improvements. And although it means to make marginal improvements, it explains it in a very understandable way that 10x simply means you are committing yourself to do something that you never had done before and you actually got good at it. So, to put it simpler, pretty much is like learning a new skill. For me, that could be learning how to code. For you, that may be learning how to lift weights. Simply doing something that you never had done before is going 10x. So, understanding that gave me a sense of relief because looking back at my life, I could never really pinpoint on exactly when I had gone 10x because 10x sound just too big for what I had ever had accomplished. And going through these self improvements, I had these thoughts, these almost doubts in myself, thinking that my past achievements were all so trifling. They were never 10x, but rather they were just 2x incremental improvements. However, as I done my self reflection, I realized that I actually have gone 10x many times over. I started to learn how to solve the Rubik's Cube when I was 10, give or take, perhaps younger. I started to learn how to play the piano quite proficiently when I was 11. And all that happening in such a short amount of time. And that for me is going 10x. Of course, now I don't do any of those things, but that was something I had accomplished. And doing this self reflection made me realize that if we constantly view our bad points, like the fact that I was a drug addict dealer from age 16 all the way to 18, in that period of my life, I could have just viewed myself as a total failure, not achieving anything, not going 10x, but perhaps even regressing because during that period, I was legit rebellious to my parents. I just let all my Asian build up hate out. I was obviously a drug addict. I was hurting people in a way that I do not intend. And I gave up on a lot of my habits, like playing the piano, which is really a part of my identity that I held really deep to myself because that was the only thing I got really good at, and I actually got some recognition for it. I gave all that up. And in that period, I could have just reflected and said I had accomplished nothing. But to be honest, I did build a very profitable business. Although not conventional and definitely illegal, I still earned a lot of money. And in essence, that was my first financial win. But not only that, I meditated. I started my spiritual journey. And that was a 10x improvement. In a way, I also got my diet in check, weirdly. And that to me was also a 10x improvement. Before I got arrested, I started my online digital business. It was the first SSMA business, social media marketing agency. Something I gave it a shot. All these are 10x increments. But if we pinpoint on exactly what I had failed at, or exactly the mistakes I had made, which is plenty during that period, then I would have never had this accomplishment or the feeling of I can do anything better than just be a loser or drug addict. And the point I really want to make is, guys, that when you feel like your accomplishments are trifling compared to someone else's, just don't compare. Because you are not them and they are not you. In the way they cannot be what you are better than what you can be yourself. So, our journey is all a process of self discovery, and your unique ability, which is also something talked about in this book, is something that you have to discover yourself. And it is something you can only do better because that is your own unique ability. But really, the greatest hindrance for one person to find that unique ability, and perhaps the reason is a great hindrance because it kills your courage, and that is to always focus on the gap, which is also another principle taught, right? The gap is something you just never achieve, right? The gap is this great potential that you always have ambition to seek, but you just cannot achieve. And the gap is, in a way, a foul understanding of what is real and what isn't. It is also a unappreciative approach of who you have become today. So undermining all your achievements, undermining all your accomplishments, and most importantly, not recognizing who you have become today versus the person who you were 5 years ago, perhaps even last year. You know, we could make drastic improvements in such a short amount of time. Like I had when I was 11, learning the piano so fast and swiftly, and that was simply because I committed. Not because I was young and I was, smart or whatnot, but simply because I committed. And that is really all you have to do in life, guys. It's just to commit. Have this interest, have something you truly want to become great at, and commit to it. It doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. It doesn't have to be being the most jacked person. It doesn't have to be going out and pulling, street ladies, whatever you want to call them. Your interest is your unique ability, and that is a sincere thought and feeling that will come to you with enthusiasm. And that is something you have to find, and it may come to you tomorrow. It may take years to come to you, but it will come to you. And when it does, if you don't stop searching for it, you will know that you want to commit to it. And when you do, guys, it doesn't even feel like work. It doesn't even feel like you are wasting time to chase something. Because by then, you don't actually need to do it. You want to do it. And when you want to do something, despite all your troubles happening in your life and world, that is your unique ability. Hold on to that. Don't give up. And by means, that does not mean hardship and difficulties will not come your way. I had so much trouble playing piano, but I still did it. Yes, I gave up now, but I guess that is all simply just a life lesson you have to learn. And we have to evolve incessantly to chase that next 10x growth, to chase that next weak point we have and become better at it. With that being said, I hope you guys had learned something from this today. But if not, like always, I'll be here for you guys tomorrow. But until then, have a good night.